So.
I do want to ask you about your relationship with your former boss and current political rival, former President Trump. After January 6th, you said this about him, quote, "We need to acknowledge he let us down. He went down a path he shouldn't have, and we shouldn't have followed him, and we shouldn't have listened to him, and we can't let that ever happen again," unquote. Do you still feel that way?
Yes, he thinks it was a beautiful day. I think it was a terrible day. I'll always stand by that.
And Trump continues to lie about what happened in the 2020 election. He continues to say it was stolen, and a huge number of Republican voters believe him. Now, I know you have issues with the ways some states changed the rules to help people vote during the pandemic. I get that. You have acknowledged that that didn't have any impact on the outcome of the election. But I'm talking about debunked, wild conspiracy theories, claims rejected by Republican governors and election officials, more than 60 failed legal challenges. After January 6th, you said about voters who believe Trump's conspiracy theories, quote, "We've got a lot of work to do. They've been lied to by everybody," unquote. How clearly are you going to state this to voters on the campaign trail?
I think it's important that voters want to have election integrity. That's the biggest thing. And I've seen, when I was at the United Nations, there's nothing worse than when a country and their citizens don't trust the election system. So when you look at what happened, you had mail-out balloting that we know was happening. We know that there was harvesting that was happening. And then you had secretaries of state that did things without approval from their legislatures. Those are pretty serious. And so what we've seen happen in states is they've started to pass election integrity laws, which we need to have. And I think that's really important. And I've said all of what happened, none of that would have changed the results of the election. We know that President Biden is the president. But I do think it goes to say we need to continue to have election integrity laws. When I was governor in South Carolina, we pushed for we pushed to make sure that we had transparency in voting. And when we did, we had voter ID. And when we did, they said we were disenfranchising voters. I was vilified by the media at the time. And I said, if you've got to show picture ID to buy Sudafed, if you've got to show picture ID to get on a plane, you should have to show picture ID to protect the integrity of the election process.
So, just for the record, a lot of states changed voting rules during the pandemic, including states that Trump won, like North Carolina, Kentucky, and Arkansas. Utah has exclusively had vote by mail for years and years and years. I'm not talking about that, and I'm not talking about debates over voter ID or whatever, normal things in the context of political discourse. I'm talking about the insane stuff we heard about the Italians hacking into satellites and well, you know what I'm talking about. And the lies that Trump continues to say, the people's lives that were put at risk, Democrats and Republicans. And I'm wondering how willing you are to talk to the people, Republican voters, to say that wasn't true. That didn't happen.
I've been on the record to say that while I think that we had issues, I don't think that any of them changed the election. I have also said, when he said it was a beautiful day, January 6th, I think January 6th was a terrible day. I will say whatever is my truth, and I've always done that, and I've done that on both of those things.
So let's